Hey guys, this guide will teach you what to look for when you're picking out a weapon for your monk. Because everybody knows that, your weapons is the most important piece to choose, the right piece to choose, and it's going to be the most expensive. So you don't want to spend 100, 200, 500 million gold on the wrong item. That might even be just a side grade. So let me show you what I chose. Well, I mean, obviously there's upgrades, but I'm on a budget. So I found this for 22 million in the auction house. So this is a 845 DPS mace. The DPS is low, yes, I know, but it has an open socket, and you should really look for an open socket in any weapon. Also, the dexterity is 269, which really sets this mace apart. With that much dexterity, I would roughly say, give or take, every dexterity is maybe 1 DPS, so this is actually about a 1100 DPS mace with no dexterity. So you can kind of look at it that way, except for the damage range is low, so my cyclones won't be hitting critting for as much as a 1100 DPS weapon will, but I paid a heck of a lot less than a 1100 DPS weapon. So just kind of keep that in mind, and we're gonna go over this more in the tutorial as I show you all this on a spreadsheet and whatnot. Now my offhand, I found this for 13 million gold, and I think this is a very good offhand. The dexterity is awesome, so if you add the dexterity, I mean it's more than a 700 DPS weapon. The life after kill is nice, and so is the life leech. As you can see, I have almost 2,000 life after kill, so that's really helps me a lot in the when there's just a horde of mobs and they're just dying left and right to cyclones. So those heals help me a lot. But the biggest thing is it's got an 88% crit base crit, which is huge. And if you don't realize it yet, remember playing World of Warcraft back when Molten Core was basically the beginning of all raids, and I played a mage back then, and everybody was stacking their main stat, which if it was a intellect or whatever, as a mage it was intellect, so everybody was stacking that. But then when somebody started stacking spell power, and then their damage started going up really high, so when the caster started stacking a spell power and the melee class started stacking attack power, that's when their damage really started to go up. So you can kind of consider your crit hit damage to be your spell power or your attack power. So that's why that stat alone, critical hit damage, is so important. And then also, when you remember when the mages got the spell power trinkets, that's when people started getting one shot in PvP in the Arathi Basin and stuff like that. So yeah, back then those were good times. And then they nerfed our trinkets so that we couldn't use them both at the same time. But anyways, back to the guide. Cyclone damage is based off of your main hand, so what you want is a slow main hand and a fast offhand like a dagger. So a slow main hand would be like a mace or mace, spear, and even an axe is pretty good. So cyclone damage doesn't care what your offhand is, only cares what your main hand is. So that's when you're picking a main hand, try to go for those 3 weapons and you'll get really good damage out of your cyclones. So here we're in the auction house, and I did a search for one-handed axes. Now for cyclone damage, if you're using cyclone, which you should be, because that's really is the best thing to use for monks, you really should look for a low attack speed, which is the spears or the spears and maces. But I'm gonna use these axes because I found a good example to talk about price differences and what is really better and not in the axes. So I'm just gonna use these axes. But axes is really a pretty good weapon speed to use. It's not as fast as a fist or a dagger, but it's not as slow as a mace or spear. But an axe is certainly a good choice to use also. So what I search for is, in my preferred stats, I use critical hit damage, dexterity at least 100, because dexterity is just awesome, and it has this open socket. Well, These sockets will all have a generic gem in them most of the time. But anyways, that's what I search for. Now the first thing we find, and then I sort by DPS. So the first thing we see is we have an 1100 DPS axe, and this guy has 5% attack speed. Now before the nerf, this probably would have been a 10% attack speed, but whatever. So we have 3 weapons here that are all over 1060 DPS. So they're kind of 3 that's sort of comparable, and their price almost the same. Well, this one's priced 350 less, but they can ask whatever they want. If they get it, that's another story. I don't think, probably none of these are worth what they're asking. So anyways, let's take a look at these 3 weapons. We have 1100 DPS. Look at the damage range at 563 to 1051. That damage range is what your cyclone damage is going to be based off of, so that is very important. The added attack speed is factored into the DPS. So really what this is an 1100 DPS axe with 134 dexterity and an open socket. This one is a 1060 DPS with 246 dexterity and an open socket. So 40 DPS less, but more dexterity. This one is dexterity is between these two with 193. It has 11% attack speed and an open socket. So what we have is 11% attack speed, open socket, 193. Well, you can see all 3. So what I want you to do is basically take a look at all 3. Here, here, and here, and take a guess at which one you think is going to be the highest DPS or the best upgrade for me. So we'll put these 3 in a spreadsheet, and you pick right now what you think would be the best weapon, and I'm gonna put it in the spreadsheet, and we'll find out which is the best upgrade for me. So we'll see if you were right or wrong about choosing it. So this is the damage calculator I use. It's a spreadsheet created by a player in game. He goes by the name of Turkish. I found this on a stream off of Twitch. So if you don't like this one, that's fine. You can use any spreadsheet you like. Just you gotta Google damage calculators and Diablo 3 damage calculators, and you'll get a ton of results. There's a lot of spreadsheets. There's even some web interface damage calculators, but the key is you got to use something so you get a general idea of what it takes to really get you more damage out of your monk, because some of you might be surprised as what is an upgrade and what isn't an upgrade. So on the left column here, I have my main stat, which is my dexterity. It was at 216, so you input that there. I use a mace. The weapon speed, it had no attack speed increase. The min damage, my max damage for the weapon, you input that there. My offhand is a dagger. Attack speed is at 1.5. There's the min and max. Yes, I'm dual wielding, so make sure these are both yes. My min damage, max damage from additional item, I have a skull grasp that has 20 min and 39 max, so make sure you input those. If you have other like amulets or rings with min and max damage, make sure you have that in there. My increased attack speed I have from my amulet is 6%, so make sure that's there. My critical is 38% with the scoundrel, and my critical hit damage is 341, so that's there. My passive, I don't have a passive, but if you were like a if you were, let's say, a wizard and you had glass cannon, I don't know, what is that, 20%? I forget. You would put that there, that's percent. Now, I do have a belt and a ring that gives me 7% damage to elites. I just leave that off, but if I did put that in, 7% from elite damage, my damage is actually bumped by there. Well, let's put it in here so you can see it and take it off here. So actually I have, my real damage is 55,000 DPS. So the 7% damage I get from my ring and my belt for elites is actually 3,600 more DPS. I just didn't have that here, but that's where you can add that in. So people, when you're actually looking at your skull grasp or your belts or weapons, anything with extra damage to elites, that percent is actually quite a bit. It's probably like giving you 7% more crit is probably comparable. So let's see if I put 7% here, which would be what, 45? Well, okay, it's not as much as a crit because with my high crit damage, it's every critical crit chance is worth quite a bit more. So it might be closer to 43. Yeah. It's more closer to 5% crit. So the 7% damage I'm getting from the elites is more closer to getting an extra 5% crit. So let's change it back. Yeah, so anyways. So just basically don't ignore that extra 3, 4, 5% damage for the elites because that is quite a bit of damage. So just look out for that. So our first weapon we're going to look at is the 1100 damage rear axe. So the dexterity we have to change. Now the dexterity on the axe was 134. My main hand had 269, so if we do the math, we're gonna subtract that from up here. Okay, so the difference in my new stats, my dexterity will drop by 135 by entering in the new axe, so my dexterity will be 231. Alright, now my main hand is going to be 1.3 speed, so I'm going to change that to 1.3 here. And then I have no increased attack speed. My min damage is 563 and my max is 1051. Alright, and also, oh, I'm sorry, the attack speed actually is 5. So there we go, I added 5 attack speed. And I don't change my crit or my crit hit because it doesn't have any. So that is the change in my stats. I lowered my dexterity by 135. I changed my weapon information here. I don't change my offhand. I'm using the same offhand. I don't change anything else because there's nothing else to change. So the difference is an increase of 4,500 DPS. Now this does not factor in, this spreadsheet does not factor in cyclone damage. So my cyclone damage will definitely hit a lot harder with this 1100 DPS axe, but I don't know because I don't have a calculator for that. But just for my main hand hits, this damage calculator shows that my damage increased to 5600 DPS. So yes, this is a definite upgrade, but again, this person is asking 500 million gold for it, and at 500 million gold is currently roughly $2 per million. So this is actually, if I have 500 million gold, I'm going to be paying $1,000 actual money for this item. So when you're buying items for gold, you have to think about that. Is this item actually worth 500 million or $1,000? Because I can sell gold in the auction house at about 25 cents per 100,000. So think about it. Is this upgrade really worth that much to you, or can we find a better option? Okay, to speed up the video, I entered in the stats of the second weapon. I lost 23 dexterity. Here's the min-max information, and the difference is 6,598 DPS. So this is actually an upgrade from the first weapon, and they're asking the same price. So there is also, you can see right there from this comparison that there's two weapons that are the same price. Which one is going to give you the higher DPS? Now it was the second option. Now let's go on to the third. So here's the stats for the third axe. I lose 76 dexterity. Entered in the information here with the 11% attack speed. And the difference is 4,245 DPS upgrade. Alright, let's go back to the three axes. Option 1, Option 2, Option 3. Alright, Option 1 for 500 million gold is a 4,511 DPS upgrade. Option 2 for the same price was 6,598 DPS. And option 3 was 4,245 DPS. So here are the prices. These two are both asking 500 million and this one is asking 350 million. But if you chose number 2, you were right. That one actually gave me a 2000 DPS upgrade over 1 and 3, which is about the same. So if you wanted to choose number 1 and 3, they both had the same DPS upgrade, but this one was 150 million less. So I hope this damage calculator clarified which out of the 3 here, which is pretty close in DPS, which is the clear option to use. Now if we go down the list to search for see if we can find a better option, because we quickly found out how much help increased critical damage was. If we go down to number 6 on the list, well actually number 5, here we have Hunter's Executor. 144 dex, 60 base critical damage, and an open socket. And this person is asking 250, so half the price of what this is for the and this one again would give you a 6500 DPS upgrade for me, but it's 500 million. This one is half the price and it gives me less dexterity but more crit. So let's do the math on this, and let's see if this will give me an upgrade. So here I put the difference in dexterity by minusing 125. I input the damage range, and I added the 60 critical hit damage here. And if you look at the difference down here, it's 7062 DPS. So actually I get almost 500 DPS upgrade for half the cost. That's what you need to look out for, people, and this is what only a damage calculator can tell you. So for 250 million instead of 500 million, I get a 500 DPS upgrade. So again, guys, gotta use a damage calculator unless you really understand this game. And even if you do, I mean, if you can do all this math in your head, then you're pretty damn smart. But that just goes to show you, don't judge a book just by the cover of a high DPS weapon. This weapon was lower DPS, it's only 992, but still it gave you more damage. So I was searching for other weapons to see if I can get an upgrade for much less, and I came across this spear, 861 DPS, 148 dex, and 72 crit damage, base crit damage, open socket. Now if you remember our first weapon of 1100 DPS at 500 million gold, it gave us 4511 DPS upgrade, 4500 for 500 million. This one gives me 3900 DPS upgrade, so that's only short 600 DPS, guys. 600 DPS. Now granted, my damage range is low, so my cyclones will hit less, but for 3900 DPS upgrade versus a 4500 DPS upgrade that costs 500 million gold, this one costs, look at this, guys, 38 million. So it's basically 462 million less. So I don't know, guys. I think I would spend 38 million gold over 500 million gold for this weapon for only a 600 DPS difference. Granted, this isn't with Cyclone, but still, the price wise, if you shop around, you can get quite similar prices. I mean, quite similar DPS to something that costs like 10-15 times more if you use a damage calculator. So anyways, just wanted to share that. Now the thing that this damage calculator doesn't do, like again I'm going to explain to you, it doesn't factor in your cyclone damage, which is very much part of your monk's damage. It's very high. So that's something I'm going to have to do on a different calculator. But I think this gives you a clear example of what weapons to look for and what to stay away from when you're pricing out weapons. I hope this guide helped you out. If it did, please like and favorite and share this on your favorite social networks, Facebooks, whatever. Just hit the share video below and copy and paste that links. Thanks again, guys, for watching.